Thank you for staying with the Deputy Presidential Debate. Debate 1 has just ended just moments after Justina Wamae of the Roots Party and Ruth Mutua of the Agano Party faced off there in Debate 1. Debate 2 is kicking off in just a bit, but my panelists are still here with me. In fact, some of the leaders are already here, already within the vicinity. We're waiting for Martha Karua, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance, and Rigathi Gachagua, who is from Kenya Kwanza, who's just arriving for the Debate 2, which will kick off in the next 1 hour. And I'll be crossing over to Ken Mijungu in just a bit, and Michelle Ngele was standing by for that conversation shortly. And my panelists are still with me. Professor Alfred Omenya, urban planning expert, is changing places with Professor Gituro. Nerima Wako, Executive Director, Siasa Place, is still here. Dr. Nancy Baraza, former Deputy Chief Justice, is still with us here. Saska Labarakwe, Public Policy Expert, is also with us. And Wanjiru Gikonyo, Executive Director, TISA, which is the Institute of Social Accountability. Just moments before this debate kicks in, the second debate, Wanjiru, who impressed you in the first debate and why?
Well, I have to give my kudos to Justina. First of all, I think both were impressive, and it's a landmark that we have two women being able to hold this debate.
Yeah.
So that means out of all the candidates, we've got a total of 3 women as deputy. That is the trend we need when we are talking about gender inclusion. In terms of the debate, I'd have to give it to Justina.
Yeah.
I felt she argued her points very convincingly. I think she gave a lot of good background information. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
But they both did well. Both did well.
Asaska, who impressed you?
To be honest with you, I give it to the Roots Party for making cannabis a national conversation in this debate this evening. Kudos. And I also picked up that she covered their manifesto very well, cutting across all the 10 points. And the other thing I noted is that the Roots Party manifesto is an outward-looking manifesto.
Yeah.
Because you'll find that she really focused on exporting hyena parts and dog and snake meat and anti-venom and all this. And they are looking at China particularly. That I find it quite interesting because China is one of the highest consumers of these exports. And because of this, she's really hammered it down on legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
And she made it clear to Kenyans that, hey, we're not just going to work in an empty space, We'll have laws and regulations guiding the farming of marijuana.
Yeah.
So I found it very interesting and captivating.
Dr. Baraza, were your expectations met? Are you convinced now? You're waiting to be convinced whether this is an alternative option?
I think before I answer that, Trevor, I want to commend the two candidates.
Yeah.
I think, as Wanjiru has said, I think our democracy has grown. It's growing, that we are having women stand before us and debate and offer themselves. I think our democracy is a demonstration that our democracy is maturing.
Yeah.
But to come to the issues, I think Justina did very well. She was on top of her manifesto. They are thinking outside the box. She gave us what is it?
The issues around their manifestos and why it is important.
Issues and how they intend to realize those issues, the law, the regulations. I think she did very well.
Yeah.
Except we got focused too much on marijuana.
Yeah.
Probably other issues were not as well articulated. As for Agano, Ruth performed well too, but she ended up reacting to Justina and forgot that they have their own manifesto. She didn't articulate their own manifesto very well.
All right.
Otherwise, I think it's a clap for our democracy.
All right, Dr. Baraza. And you can see right now this debate 2 is just about to kick off. It's starting off in the next 45 minutes or so. And one of the candidates there, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua from the Kenya Kwanza and UDA Brigade, is already here. ready to face off with Honorable Martha Karua. He's just come in first, and of course they're going to hold him for a bit for the second part of that debate, which is kicking off at exactly 8 p.m. all the way to 9:30. That will be moderated by James Smart and Sophia Wanuna. James Smart, who has been told there's no such thing as beard gang. Ni pesa hakuna. We'll cross over to James Smart and find out what's really going on. But right now, one of the candidates who's arriving for the second debate, that is Honorable Gachagua, is heading to speak to Ken Mijungu and Michelle Ngele to find out how he's feeling this evening. Ken?
Trevor, thank you so much. And of course, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance candidate, running mate Rigathi Gachagua, is here, all decked up, looking really nice. Thank you so much for you quite early. You keep time. It's about 5 minutes past 7. How have you prepared for this debate?
Well, to start with, I'm a guy who keeps time. You know, I was a guy in uniform. I believe in military precision. You told me here to be 7, here at 7, I'm here at 7.
Okay.
I'm ready for the debate. I'm looking forward. I hope this debate is about the people of Kenya. I hope we are not degenerate into triviality and innuendos and rumors and unnecessary issues. I trust that the moderators will give us a chance to present to the people of Kenya our plan to turn around the economy, to change their lives, to put food on the table, to make sure that every Kenyan can pay their bills, they can take their children to school, to make sure that every Kenyan who goes to hospital cannot be detained there because of lack of money, and to restore the dignity of the Kenyan people.
Okay.
You know, Kenyans are in a state of helplessness. Kenyans feel very dejected. They lack hope. We need to give them a plan.
Okay.
And we have that plan. And given an opportunity tonight, we'll talk to the people of Kenya and tell them the plan that we have.
Very, very interesting. But as I let you go, because you need to take a little rest before you take to the podium, you are prepared for this debate. You have been going around campaigning for Kenyans. But how do you feel being here tonight? This is the day, you know, because obviously you prepared for it.
I feel good because I'll have an opportunity to talk to many Kenyans who don't come to public rallies. There are many Kenyans who, because they are working, they are busy in business, some outside the country, they don't get time to attend public rallies where we have been pushing our agenda and explaining to the people of Kenya why they should give Dr. William Ruto and I a chance to change their lives, to restore their dignity, to give them hope, to inspire them.
Right.
And those are the Kenyans I want to talk tonight. And I trust and pray that the moderators will not be trivial. They'll give me an opportunity to talk to the people of Kenya about our plan and convince them that we have the best plan for them, and that is why they should come out on the 9th of August and vote for Dr. Ruto and I.
All right, Rigathi Gachagua, running mate for the Kenya Kwanza, all the best as he walks in to now take his position. And Trevor, very interesting. He's a man who keeps time, and he says he's ready for the debate, and I know we are also ready. Over to you, Trevor.
Thanks, Ken. We're absolutely ready for debate 2. This is just moments after debate 1 has just finished. Justina Wamae of the Roots Party and Ruth Mutua were facing off. Now debate 2 is kicking off in the next 45 minutes or so. That's at 8 p.m. They're going all the way to 9:30, and the first candidate has already arrived. That's Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. Narima, coming to you now, just post the first debate. Who impressed you and why?
Well, I would have to say that as well. I agree. I believe it was Justina Wamae. You could clearly see in the way she articulated herself that politics is something that she is well versed and used to. She was able to use very personal stories. She identified with the people, the audience. A lot of times with her responses, you could hear the audience chiming in and laughing. But also the fact that she had tried to stand in Mavoko and also applied for a permanent secretary position. It shows you that even in her articulation of responses, she could see how things work within the counties.
Okay. And Nerima, I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. Now the interruption comes to you for the first time. At least that's one vote on your side. Let's go over to Busara Naman, who's standing by with Justina Wamae of the Roots Party. Post the first debate and let's find out how she's feeling. Busara?
Naam, mtazamaji, bila shaka duru ya kwanza ama awamu ya kwanza mdahalo imetamatika na tayari tunajitayarisha kwa awamu ya pili. Lakini kabla hatujajitosa katika awamu ya pili, ni lazima tuweze kujua jinsi mambo yalivyokwenda katika awamu ya kwanza. Na hapa nipo na mgombea mwenza ambaye ni Justina Wamae, na pengine tu ningependa utueleze, je, unahisi vipi baada huo mdahalo? Na je, unahisi kwamba umeweza kuwashawishi wa Kenya?
Asante sana Busara kwa hilo swali. Nikiingia hapa nilisema kazi yangu itakuwa ku destigmatize Roots Party manifesto na believe nimefanya hivyo. But wacha niseme hivi, Kenya imebadilika, wa Kenya wanataka leaders who understand them. Na ndio maana ilibidi nifanye a lot of research na ni present well ndio wa Kenya watuelewe. Another thing, Mkenya wa leo si ule wa kitambo. Nilipokuwa mdogo nilikuwa naona wanasema women in politics are not married. So the men in this country wako progressive, watasupport ideas, hata women empowerment ideas, and I need to thank personally my husband, my spouse, Bwana Alex, tuko naye huku kwa kunipatia hii opportunity ya ku choose and do what I love, which is public service and leadership. Nimefurahi sana.
Naam, asante sana kwa kuja, asante kwa kuitikia mwito. Na mtazamaji, kufikia hapo na ningependa kumpisha mwenzangu Nimrod Tabu naye atueleze upande wake kuko vipi. Karibia kaka.
Naam, asante sana Busara. Bila shaka nafikiri mgombea mwenza ameeleza vizuri. Ninaye mgombea mwenza pia mwingine alikuwa hapo katika jukwaa, Bi Ruth Mutua. Nafikiri pengine hisia za kwanza tu ulipowasili na mpaka sasa. Je, unasikia fursa hii umeitumia vizuri kuzungumza na wananchi? Manake kuna wengine ambao pengine walikuwa hawaja kuona kwa muda mrefu, kuchukua majukwaa kama haya na kuzungumzia manifesto.
Hii nafasi nimeifurahia, and I thank the Media Council for the opportunity that you've given unto us. We are not really competing against each other. Tumekubaliana na Justina, tumekuja kuleta the manifesto. What is this government coming to do? I have loved the interview. It was interactive, but not siya kuleta mtu chini ya kumuonesha this one is better than the other. Na pia ningeweza kufurahi kushukuru familia yangu, pia mimi bwana na watoto wamenishikilia for even this first time of a race. Nasema ni asanti.
Bila shaka tunatumai kwamba umeweka msingi wa yale ambao mnataka kufanya hata siku za usoni, lakini asante sana kwa muda wako. Bila shaka tukiwa na migaragazano kama hii tutakuwa tunatafutana na nyinyi. Haya basi, ndio kama ulivyosikia mtazamaji, wagombea wenza wote wakifurahia fursa hii kuweza kuzungumza na wananchi na kuuza sera zao kwa wale ambao walikuwa bado hawaja kuweza kuwafahamu ama kuwaelewa zaidi. Lakini kwa sasa hivi tunakwenda kwake Trevor Umbija, bado wakili na wachanganuzi, kuzungumzia tu awamu ya kwanza na pia matamanio na yale yanayotarajiwa katika mdahalo wa pili.
Asante sana Nimrod na Busara there, but we come back to you. You're finishing your thoughts on why Justina is the one who impressed you.
Yes. So basically she said it herself just now, where she said she's passionate about public service. We saw that. She was able to bring it out. But also her opening statement, where she talked about, Kenyans, open your mind. So Roots Party is definitely different. We saw the difference. And she also closed it with Kenyans, open your mind. And I think that she has managed to do what she came to do. People are asking questions on, can industrial hemp make a difference to our economy? She has left Kenyans actually thinking about it rather than completely negating it. And so I think she has won this debate today.
All right. Prof, were your expectations met, and who impressed you this evening?
Thank you. Thank you, Trevor. I think my expectations have learned to make them very, very low. So they were met. There's no doubt about that. I think I really liked Justina and Roots Party. Because I like them not necessarily because of the issues they responded to, but as the other panelists have actually highlighted, as our democracy expands, we will be having different types of parties, pushing for different types of issues. And I think for the first time we are seeing a fringe party, being on the national agenda with a clear issue. And that issue is actually legalization of industrial hemp. And yes, whatever the case, whether we discussed hemp for too long or whatever it is, I think Kenyans learned a lot about that one single issue that Roots Party and Justina brought on board. When it came to Ruth, I thought that their party must also be having an issue that they wanted Kenyan to listen to, but it seemed like her issue was to oppose industrial hemp and to oppose snake rearing, and to oppose export of hyenas to China. So Agano Party actually wasted our time and actually did not even use the platform for anything. Yes, but of course, I mean, what I'd hope to hear really was whether there was anything beyond what we're hearing, the hemp and stuff like that. And I think Justina either tactically or otherwise chose not to discuss any of those things. Whether it's devolution, whether it's other issues around agriculture, whether it is youth employment, and all that. But on their single agenda of hemp, it was clearly put on the table. And my one suggestion to them is that they should not really campaign about anything else. The other things they can leave for Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Let them focus on hemp and educate us accordingly.
Okay. Dr. Baraza, on the issue of the rule of law, Justina says judiciary is the one that is to blame. Because in her own words, money will be used to sanitize whoever is accused of any matter. Do you agree with those statements? That it's the judiciary that is to blame?
Before I go to the judiciary, I want to support my colleague there about Justina and her hemp. Actually, come to think of it, I use an oil called Indian hemp for my head. So if that hemp is the marijuana, then maybe she should focus there. I use Indian hemp on my head. The judiciary and Justina, I think, to a large extent, I think we need to pull up our socks in the judiciary. People, whether rightly or wrongly, they think the judiciary is the weakest link in our fight against corruption. The delays in cases, the drama that goes on around cases, especially cases on corruption. I think we need to. The institution needs to pull up its socks so that we can very, very ably deal with the issue of corruption.
Can the solution be the death penalty and death by hanging? Because the last time this happened, and Gachagua brought it out very well, was in 1987. She says that will instill fear if it is brought back.
We have the death penalty. It is there. It's not like it has been outlawed. It is there. And it is for capital offenses. I don't think corruption is a capital offense. So unless now we revisit it, but it is there. And I don't think it instills fear even in the murderers and the people who commit capital offenses. So I don't know. I think probably she needs to have given us more alternatives on how we can deal with corruption.
But we've not seen the death penalty being used since 1987. It is not used.
I think we develop cold feet when it comes to real hanging of people. So we have just put them there in committee. They are there, and nobody hangs them.
Okay.
So and it is true. We hanged last, I think, in 1987. Yeah.
All right. Let me bring in Wanjiru on this. Wanjiru, on the issue of judiciary, Justina says it's the judiciary that has failed Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Do you agree?
Well, what I do agree is that we have a problem of corruption. And what I like about these two parties, unfortunately, too much time was spent on the Bangi issue and not enough on the other issues. But if you look at the manifestos, there is the hanging provision in the Roots Party, and then the Agano Party really, actually, their centerpiece is fighting corruption. And all their recommendations are kind of built around that. And what I like about that is they are forcing, they may be fringe parties, but they are putting an issue that Kenyans, that bedevils our society, but Kenyans also feel about at the center stage. Because if you look at the larger parties, the Azimio Party, of course, has, a human rights crusader and a governance crusader for the deputy. But if you look at the manifesto proper, the proposals they have on fighting corruption have not been brought out. They are not quantified. They look like the platitudes that litter all our other proposals, copy-paste, let us do this. So we are not getting action. If you look at the UDA manifesto, actually they're almost telling us, let's rethink this corruption thing. It's not that big a deal. They also have some good proposals to strengthen the redress institutions, but they're leaving out the leadership and integrity. So we need the fringe parties, and I hope they'll stay the course to keep this center stage. Is it the judiciary? Well, the judiciary is definitely a weak link. In fact, Transparency International did a study on the judiciary and found of all the institutions, it's possibly one where corruption is most rampant. But by the same token, part of the paradoxes of our governance, the judiciary has been the bulwark or the protector of the Constitution under this dispensation against an administration that was really violating the Constitution. So I wouldn't put it all on the judiciary, because we've got, how do cases start? Cases start in the administrative process, and there are administrative sanctions. We have a Commission on Administration of Justice. So a lot of the offenses that we have can be dealt with administratively, but the public service doesn't work. From the people they hire, from the people who sit on the public service, from the people who get into public offices. So the moment you have the wrong people sitting in these offices, you begin to dilute the process. When these violations happen, they'll get investigated by the Auditor General, and the Controller of Budget can stop finances in some cases. Once these reports come to Parliament, what happens? And we've seen what happens with corruption cases, including the COVID, including the NYS reports. We've seen Parliament expunging the names of some of the politically connected individuals, so that you get a report with a bunch of facts, leaving out the perpetrators and those most responsible. We've seen the president promise to release beneficial ownership information. This is who are the companies that are taking part in government procurement, so that we can hold those people to account. And this hasn't happened. So we can't put it all on the judiciary. We have a very robust legal and administrative institutional framework, but the culture, what we want to hear is, what's the culture that we, how do we change the culture? How do we enforce the laws that are there?
And Asaska, what are your thoughts on this when the candidate is blaming the judiciary and saying that the death penalty will instill some sort of fear?
I'll agree with what Daktari and Wanjiru has mentioned, but I also don't want to 100% blame the judiciary, because our constitution is progressive, and the judicial systems are quite independent. So I think we are progressing, however slow, into having perfect judicial systems in place that deliver justice and fairness. So I won't blame it 100%. No.
So Prof, what are your thoughts on this? Is it the judiciary, is that the weakest link when it comes to fighting graft?
Actually, that's nonsense. We know exactly the problem with the corruption in this country. Corruption in this country is a leadership issue. And it goes to what fellow panelists are saying there, that we do have enough administrative instruments to deal with this. If a president of the country is telling us that people are stealing in his government, whose responsibility is it to stop those people from stealing? It is not the judiciary. It is the president. And the president actually has adequate room in law to be able to replace people who are thieves and even who've been suspected of theft. I think if you look at the judiciary, if you look at Article 6 of the Constitution, I think that it sets a leadership standard. It sets a standard for public leaders. It is not just there actually for leaders who fail the criminal test. If I'm a famous thief, you don't need to prove that Romania is a thief so as not to put me in. To block me from getting into public office. Corruption in this country will only end if you have leaders who are not corrupt. We can create new laws. We can create new institutions to fight corruption. We can threaten to hang people. But, and not just in the country, we know that corruption in private sector
is normally when the CEO is corrupt or condones the corruption. Corruption in counties is when those governors are actually corrupt or condone corruption. Counties that have not wanted, that have actually wanted to serve the public properly and ensure that public resources are used properly, they are being done, and it's not because of the judiciary.
Yeah.
The president, yes, and we've been told the president has promised us over and over again to tell us who are these beneficial owners of companies, who are running the SGR, who are in the expressway, and so on.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say on national TV that, as far as I'm concerned, the president himself has failed that test to lead from the front. In fact, I actually think that the president and his deputy condone corruption. And that's why this animal will continue. As long as we keep electing leaders who condone corruption, we can cry whatever we want. We can point fingers. We can create 10 casas. But corruption will actually continue.
Yeah.
For me, it actually starts and ends with leadership.
Okay, Nerima, what are your thoughts on that?
I think just to add on what has already been mentioned, we need to talk about asset recovery.
Yeah.
The Kroll report did, mention, especially during Moi's regime, a lot of resources, ill-gotten wealth, was transferred to Swiss accounts. So in 2018, when the former President Alain Berset visited Kenya, he signed an agreement with President Kenyatta called FRAC, the Framework for the Return of Assets from Corruption and Crime in Kenya. Where did that go? What has happened with that? I think that there are frameworks in place in our country to make sure or to support our resources to come back in. Because as much as we're talking about corruption within, which is current, there's corruption from previous decades of mismanagement and terrible leadership and bad governance that we also need to talk about, that is overseas. And bringing these resources back, I think it's important for our candidates to highlight how they plan to do that, not just focusing on the judiciary. So I do agree that it has everything and a lot to do with leadership in place.
Yeah, and Dr. Baraza, one of the things that she brought out is closely related to what Professor is saying. Justina said that it's Kenyans themselves who are to blame for bad leadership. Do you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We know corruption is rampant. We know what it is doing to us. But we are ready to vote in corrupt leaders. We don't condemn corruption. We are ready. Only we are the ones who vote in these fellows. And so I think to that extent she's right. And on the issue of the judiciary, I think, let me go back to it. It's just one of the many institutions. And there are instances of corruption in that institution, but that doesn't mean that the entire judiciary is to blame for corruption. I think all our institutions, the entire leadership of this country is responsible for corruption.
Okay.
And so I think to that extent, she's quite right. And Kenyans ourselves determine the kind of leadership that we want. And so if we elect corrupt people, we put them in place, and they come and play musical chairs on us. We are promised there is going to be a lifestyle audit. We are all ears out waiting for the lifestyle audit, and that is the surest way of finding out how we are making our money and who is making this money. And then it stops. We don't hear about it anymore. And we continue.
Okay.
And right now, I think our biggest problem is celebration of money. We don't care where money has come from. Our little boys and girls are driving the most expensive vehicles in this country. Our economy is a small economy.
Yeah.
Where are we getting this money from? We don't ask those questions. We are celebrating corruption.
Okay. Wanjiru, is it the electorate that is to blame for all the mess that we are in?
No, I respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
I think it is, sometimes we don't understand why some of these political decisions are made. When you look at, some of the candidates, like let's say Mike Sonko, he's been impeached in one, ran Nairobi to the ground, yet there's an indication that he may get acceptance in Mombasa had the court allowed him to do so. But I think those might be outliers and also might be ignoring the, many factors. So many factors go into the voting decision. including the electoral process. If we had an electoral process in 2013 that had to be challenged up to the Supreme Court because there were doubts on the way it was managed, and if again in 2017 I went, voted, Kenyans went, voted, and the presidential result had to be annulled and overturned because the process was manipulated, with a weak electoral system, you actually impede the ability of the confidence of Kenyans in the electoral and the leadership election process, and the ability to remove bad leaders. Linked to the electoral process is the party nomination process, where you have maybe two bad candidates or two candidates implicated of corruption. They may be good in other ways, maybe then Kenyans don't really have a choice. The other thing is, like I said earlier, our civic education is actually a duty of government if you look at the law, but it hasn't been taking place. And you have to ask yourself, why did the Jubilee administration frustrate the civic education and civil engagement pillar of engagement? Because they did. They were deregistering institutions. They were refusing to allow development funders to fund civic education and voter education. So if you do not build up a critical consciousness among the citizens, what do you expect? They are going to fall privy to the lies and propaganda that the politicians peddle out. Last thing is, socially, the incentives work for corruption. Those who have fought corruption pay a very bitter price. Whether it's John Gidongo now paying 10 million for exposing the Anglo-leasing, whether it was Jacinta Mwatela, who was hounded out of Central Bank for refusing corruption, whether it's David Munyakei, who exposed Goldenberg, and he died a pauper's death. So the social incentives favor corruption because the political elite are benefiting. So blaming the citizen is victim blaming. Maybe last I can say is professionals. Look at what happened in Kenyatta University when a professional stood up and said no. So we also need professionals of courage and integrity to stop being bullied when they're given the wrong instructions.
Asaska, is it the people who are to blame for this?
Trevor, first of all, before I answer your question, I think we would like to appreciate the fact that Kenya's democratic space has really grown over time. And one, it's because look at the fringe parties, the Roots Party and the Agano Party. They have a huge space right now to explain to Kenyans what they really stand for and what they will bring to the table for Kenyans. And yes, you're asking me, is the corruption, are we to blame the electorate?
Asaska, now I think you get one interruption also. It's fair play for everyone. We're going to ensure everybody's interrupted at least once. You can see now on your screens that the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Deputy Presidential Candidate, Honorable Martha Karua, is now here, ready for the debate, which is starting in the next 30 minutes from now. It's going to take 1.5 hours, where they're going to outline the reasons why they're running for office and why they should be elected. Right after that, what is going to happen is they're going to take a ballot session. In that ballot session, whoever picks the first number is the one who will make the opening remarks first. I think she's accompanied by her family there. So once that happens, the second person is the one who will also make the closing remark second. That's Honorable Martha Karua is coming in for the debate that's going to take place in just a short while there, but 1.5 hours of it, where Kenyans, you can send in your questions as well on 22843, and we'll cross over to them and find out whether she's ready for the debate that is about to kick off in the next half an hour. And Ken Mijungu is now standing right there with Michelle Ngele. Ken?
Deputy Presidential running mate under the Azimio One Kenya coalition just arrived 25 minutes to the debate. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and you can see I'm surrounded by my grandchildren.
Yeah, yes. Do you want to say something? You want to say something?
Hi, people.
Are you ready for this debate?
Very. Yes.
All right. Say something.
Hi.
Do you wish her well?
Yes. No,
all right.
Please vote for Azimio.
All right, that is Martha Karua. She is the second candidate to arrive for this debate, setting the stage for the debate. Among many others, Kenyans expecting a heated debate, where amongst center stage will be how these candidates will implement their manifestos. Trevor.
Thank you, Michelle and Ken Mijungu there, speaking to the deputy presidential candidate for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. Honorable Martha Karua has just walked into the podium. The debate kicks off in the next half an hour from now. They'll first go into the balloting session where they pick their numbers. That will determine who will make the opening remarks and who will be the first one to make closing remarks as well. But as Aska, we were talking about, now we have to switch gears. As you finish your talks on that, let's now talk about the one that's coming, the debate that's coming. What are your expectations